Hey everyone, Chris here. Thank you so much for clicking onto my channel, Sabbatical Story. Today's a beautiful day, and I'm in an amazing place. And today is the perfect time and place to do my very first in a series of how to take a sabbatical. So I'm super excited and I'm glad you're here. But before I even get into any of the stuff that I need to talk about today, take a look at some of these images and tell me in the comments below if you can guess where I am. Hey everyone, welcome back. Well, hopefully you can guess where I am. It's a beautiful place, and I certainly hope you get a chance to get here. So, we have a lot to cover today, so we're going to get right into it. So, the way I'm working this out is that I'm going to have each video advance from the previous one. Even though this is the very first in a series of how to take a sabbatical, what I'd like to have you do is actually, if you haven't watched our video on how we took our sabbatical story, you should. What it does is it tells you the story about how we evolved our mindset and our thinking in order to position us to be able to take a sabbatical. And it's a critical first step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to model the content that we're going to be putting out along the lines of how we evolved our mindset over time. And where we're going to start today is with what we call the sabbatical money mindset. So the sabbatical money mindset is something that we've developed over a course of years, and it's really helped us to get to where we are today. Now, my wife and I have a funny term for it. We call it jailbreaking the mind. And the reason we call it that is because you literally feel liberated whenever you get to a certain point where you look at your world differently, and it changes how you operate within the world. It's a very liberating feeling. And then I think the biggest thing though is that it removes the barriers that you think are there that seem like there's a reason why you can't do something or you shouldn't do something. And whenever you jailbreak your mind, like what we're going to start with today, it really makes it feel like all that falls away, and makes you feel like you can do anything. So that's a really important piece of what we're trying to bring here. So let's go ahead and get started with the sabbatical money mindset. We're going to start this at the very beginning, and I mean the very beginning, the beginning of our lives. When we're born, up until the age of about 3, it's been said that we learn more in those first 3 years than in any other 3-year span of time for the rest of our lives. And I think I agree with that. I mean, think about it. We learn our first language. We learn to walk. We learn social dynamics, like what's appropriate or inappropriate or right or wrong or acceptable or unacceptable in our society, in the context of our society. Now, we also learn during this period of time the concept of money. So we learn very early that whenever we want a piece of candy or a toy or whatever it was as a kid, that we can't just have it. Mom and dad or a caretaker has to purchase that item for you. So you either get that item or you don't. If you don't, you get excuses like, well, maybe it's not the budget, or because I said so, or whatever mom and dad would have told you, right? So as our mindset about money develops as we're children, we start to really realize that when you get more money, you can buy the stuff that you want. And then a lot of kids like me, tried our hand at a lemonade stand or whatever to try to earn money, right? It evolves as we grow up. Maybe you mow yards or babysit or something like that. Then in high school, we get summer jobs to pay for your first car. And then we start our careers. And then it's all about buying a better car and a house. And then as you earn more and more money, we earn more and more money. We buy a nicer car and a bigger house, and that just continues on for 40 some odd years until we get to this thing called retirement, right? Now, let's put that aside for just 1 second. I want to draw a parallel line to the money. The money creates a culture. It creates the social paradigms in a lot of different ways, and it affects those social paradigms. So let's again start from the very beginning. When we're children, we start to learn what's expected of us in the direction that our lives are supposed to go, right? We learn, for example, that we're supposed to go to school, okay? Then we're supposed to go to high school, and we're supposed to graduate, and then we got this thing called college. You're supposed to go to college, and then you go either in the military or you get a job. And then when you get a job, you get a car, and then a house, and then you buy 10 pairs of shoes and a new iPhone every time one comes out, and you just accumulate stuff over time. 45 years goes by. And then we look at this thing called, again, retirement. And along the way, that's when we start getting into the more complicated side of money. 401ks, investing, stocks and bonds, CDOs, and interest rates, and IRAs, and all these things become more and more important, right? That's the parallel line that is based upon and predicated by money that is expected of us in our life. Now, let's go back to the first few years of our life, first 2 or 3 years of our life. As we're learning these social dynamics and where we're expected to go with our life and what the concept of money is supposed to mean, that learning is sort of like loading an operating system onto a computer. So from that point forward, everything that happens in your life has to be compatible with and built upon that operating system. When something comes up, let's say like a sabbatical, that's not compatible with that upbringing, with that operating system, if you will, we look at it and we might say, well, that's crazy. Well, I can't do that. That's crazy. Look at what might happen to your career. How are you going to pay for that? You just got a promotion. You can't just take a sabbatical, right? Because it doesn't jive with the operating system. So any idea like that, or there's an infinite number of other ideas that don't jive with that operating system, we look at it and say, that's crazy, I can't do that. So that's the mindset that we start with. Now, money. Because money is a part of our upbringing, from the time that we're able to speak and understand language, we learn that money is the way things get done, and it predicates our society. When we have some sort of an economic downturn, everybody goes crazy, right? Everyone goes crazy because money and the culture that we've built on money is a part of our identity. It's part of who we are. It's what we identify with, and that's why we buy expensive cars, even though we don't have to, and expensive houses, because it's part of our identity. When it happens as a nation, like a huge economic downturn, everybody goes bananas, right? Because it's our identity of our culture. We can't separate the two. Now, money, because it is something that's learned, first thing in our life, along with language and learning to walk, it's the most unquestioned form of faith there is. We don't even question it. We don't look at it critically at all. We just take it, whatever it is that we got to take. We either qualify for our mortgage or our car payments, or we don't, right? And we just take what we're given without question. If we have a high interest rate or a bad credit score or a good credit score, we just take it. We just live inside of this financial world without questioning any of it because it's so deep in our psyche. So again, it's one of the most unquestioned forms of faith there is. What I'm suggesting here is that our lives aren't necessarily governed by our own direction, our own inner force. It's governed by other people. This governance was given to you at birth. You had no say in it. Nobody asked you about it. You had no input. This was given to you as you were growing up, so really you weren't really made aware of it. So, what does that mean? Do we have any agency in all of this? Can we change it? I think the answer is yes. I really do. So when you get a few minutes, sit in a quiet place underneath a shade tree or in a beautiful place like this. Maybe just on your couch and turn off the TV. Think about some of the big events in your life. Your first job or that big promotion you really wanted. The car you drive, the house you live in, the things that you own. Think about the real reason why you acquired those things. And some of those things are absolutely going to be in line. I'm not criticizing anything that anybody's done. But sort of like the exercise my wife went through and evaluating, why do we have a Mercedes? Why did we spend that money when we could have just bought a Honda or a Volkswagen, right? Think about the things that you've done in your life, and if they are in accordance and in line with what you really want. Or did you do it because you thought you were supposed to, or it was expected of you? Wow. I bet you didn't think we were going to be talking about how to take a sabbatical, starting off with something like this, right? But let me tell you, we are just scratching the surface and changing our mindset and going down a whole new path. And I've got some amazing curriculum. That's not even the right word. Content. I've got some amazing content coming up that's going to be building off of this. That is going to completely change your mindset, just like it did for us. And it changes the way you look at the world. It changes everything. It jailbreaks your mind. And then all those obstacles that seem to be standing in your way that makes you think, man, I can't do that. Or, man, that'll ruin my career. Or whatever. All that stuff just falls away. And it'll be the best thing you ever did. So before we end this video, if you're watching this on YouTube, two things. First of all, thank you so much. You should subscribe, not for my benefit, but for yours, because I've got so much more content coming. Secondly, you didn't get this whole video. If you want the unedited full version of this video, go over to my Patreon page at patreon.com/sabbatical story for the full length video. There, you'll get all the deeper intuition and deeper discussion into the subject and all the rest of them as well. For those of you watching on Patreon, thank you so much for being a part of the community. All right, well, that's enough for today. That was a big one, right? And like I said, we're just scratching the surface. So I'll see you guys over there, and remember, until next time, I'll see you on Sabbatical.